I'll come.
I want to thank Mr. Clark and ask me if we could spend a couple of minutes talking about some of the things that the district's had some success over the last 5-6 years. And I wanted to be able to go back and the administrative team and the teachers, I want to make sure that everybody understands this. The work that the administrative team and the teachers, and most importantly our kids have done the last 5 years is really, truly remarkable. I just want to go through this with some people so they have an understanding. There was early on we established a student-centered, equity-focused, and future-driven school district. All right, we realized right away we have some issues that we need to deal with. Attendance is one of the issues. How do we get kids to come to school, want to come to school, be a part of school? So we're really focused on things that are going to try to make them have the need to be here. And somebody just took a picture of it. Okay? We implemented a comprehensive mental health program for every student K-12. Why is that important? This year alone, as of today, we've had 20-some elementary students who have either thought about, had a plan, and/or a means in regards to suicide, and which is very, very scary at such a young age. The mental health system that we have in place was able to recognize this early and get those individuals the help and the families the help that they need. Right? So that was very, very important for us as a school district. We're seeing a lot of children coming in with severe, severe trauma, and we need to take care of that trauma before we can move them any way, shape, or form forward academically. We created and implemented a highly effective K-12 student assistance program. That's where we're recognizing kids. It could be drugs, alcohol, behavior, attendance issues, trying to get on that right away. 2 years in a row, our district was named by a national association for our Future Ready programs that we're doing. Pre-COVID, in 2017-18, we were 104 out of 106, ranked all the way at the bottom. A year later, in 2019, by the Pittsburgh Business Times, we were ranked 17 out of 106. SchoolDigger.com ranked us as one of the 15 improved districts in the state. Designed and implemented our own cyber school program. We realized early on we were spending a lot of money. A lot of students were going outside of cyber, which was costing the district a significant amount of money. So we implemented this cyber program. That the courses were designed and implemented by the teachers, and it's all driven from the inside. Which is the last 2 or 3 years has shown significant improvements, especially not only academically but financially. In 2017, prior to 2017, we also improved the zero technology logistics where every student has a one-to-one device.
Okay.
A lot of this was done through the federal monies that we were able to receive through ESSER. All of our students, which we had no internet capabilities whatsoever, all of our students have a device now. All of our teachers have a device now. And we also purchased Promethean boards, which are state-of-the-art instructional aids for teachers to use in their classrooms. Our financial status prior to 2017 was about negative $1.5 million below. Currently, we have a fund balance over $2 million. We've been able to save a little bit and move forward through very strategic planning, and I thank Mr. Llewellyn for his due diligence in the business department for that. Okay. Instituted a district-wide K-12 positive behavior support program. That has been received very well in the elementary, middle school, and high school. We lost a little bit of that at COVID time, again, because the kids were out, and we're slowly regaining that back. Student-led redesign of the middle school library. The students took it upon themselves to redesign the middle school library at the Future Ready Center, where they now receive multiple different ways to understand and learn about pathways to careers. The renovating the high school cafeteria to become more student-centered. If you get the opportunity to see that. Mrs. Keeler and Mr. Yakubek did a great job in that whole process, designing that for us. The students seem to love it and have really respected that cafeteria this year. Connected our students with significant community projects, which you all know, the stage, the student space in the library, the perennial project, the Portals program. The Portals program has now taken on another level where there's 5 school districts. Thank you. Can you hear me? All right. There are 5 school districts now that are coming here to learn about that type of education, instruction, and design, and they're going to go and implement that in their districts as well. Created a diversity course curriculum and a diversity club that was brought to us by the students. Created the Brownsville Education Foundation that supports teachers and students with grants for teachers and scholarships for kids. We have secured over $600,000 worth of competitive grants, not the grants that we get from the state that are just a matter of filling things out, and most districts get those. These are competitive grants that have been used to enhance our education. Partnered with Guaranteed Clean Energy to upgrade all of our energy systems to save the district $800,000. Created active educational partnerships with the University of Pittsburgh, Carnegie Mellon, and California University. Established active partnerships with the Grable Foundation, Benham Foundation, the Rural Arts Collaboration, all played a significant part in helping design and implement a lot of the things that we've been doing. Restructured and revamped our gifted education program. Revised all K-12 core course curriculums. Created new staff hiring policies and procedures. Revised and updated all district policies. Created a state-of-the-art live website and app, which you see now. Our website is active. Somebody could come in here and take a picture right now of the board in a work session. It could be posted within a matter of seconds. Upgrade the student management system, implemented a new teacher induction program, upgraded the gymnasium scoreboards with state-of-the-art digital scoreboards, which is connected to one of our classes, our business classes. So the kids are getting firsthand marketing and management experiences. In our high school, increased the graduation rate, which is probably the most important thing. Decreased the discipline. Developed a vision of student handbook and code of conduct that was never there before. Decreased school tardiness and early dismissal. Developed an effective communication system for staff, students, and community members. Implemented PBIS and implemented a restorative practice, which I'll get into here in a little bit. Middle school, same thing, a PBIS program. Reinventing ISS and restorative practices with counseling worked in. What you see here up here, this poster, School of Excellence. Tomorrow our district is receiving the School of Excellence Award from Imagine Learning because of the way that we're using Imagine Purpose, which is a restorative practice in our in-school suspension. So when our students get placed in the in-school suspension, the old in-school suspension, they are now taking a course, whether that's on manners, respect, tardiness, attendance, whatever that is. And then there's also one-on-one time with a therapist and a group time too, to try to correct the behaviors, get to the root of the behaviors so that they don't happen again. We are seeing a decline in second and third time offenders with this program. We established the WIN program, which is going to be on a weekly basis in the middle school and high school next year, 3 days a week. What that stands for is for the kids. If you remember a few years ago, the kids said, we need time. We need time for study halls. We need time for activities and so forth. So we will run a WIN time. 3 things will happen in that. One will be a mentorship once a month with the teachers so that they have the ability to meet with teachers in a small group and discuss grades, scheduling, and so forth. They will also have an activity time in which the teachers will bring an activity. If a teacher likes chess, they may teach students how to use chess. If a teacher likes fly fishing, the kids may learn how to do fly fishing and so forth. And then the most important time, there's going to be, twice a week, there's going to be academic enrichment and remediation for students who need maybe help in algebra or English or whatever. They'll have that time during that period to do so. If they're doing well, they'll also have time to be enriched to get things that are a little bit more comprehensive for them. We're starting to use mentoring groups with teachers and students, using peer mentoring with the high school students, helping middle school students. Tutor enhancement for PSAs related subjects are built into the school day this year. After school tutoring was funded by the ATSI money that we had. There has been a significant decline in discipline referrals in the middle school and school suspensions, and an increase in attendance, which is now at about 87% in the middle school. Elementary, 3 consecutive years of improved school performance scores. Created a transitional kindergarten for students who might not quite be ready to get into kindergarten. They can't pass that kindergarten pre-test. We take them, we work with them as they start to advance. They could go right into a regular kindergarten, or maybe it's a student that did pass the test, it's in the regular kindergarten, is not doing quite as well, they can transition back down. So it's a fluid process that is really working very well for us. We infused the arts and music back into the elementary curriculum. Prior to 4 or 5 years ago, the students only had phys ed as an itinerant. This serves 2 purposes. One, it gets the young kids an interest and a taste of the arts early on, and secondly, it gives time for those teachers in those classrooms to collaborate with each other to develop their lessons. Created a K-5 STEAM curriculum when we partnered with South Fayette School District. With that, there was also funding that came through the Grable Foundation and so forth that helped with that process as well. That STEAM curriculum now is K through 12. Prior to a few years ago, our students didn't get coding until they got to the middle school. We now have kindergarten and first grade kids coding. On Wednesday, Remake Learning is coming here. We're one of 5 districts that our second graders are coding, and it's going to be partnered with Carnegie Mellon for artificial intelligence. If you're around, we'd love to have you come and see that. It's really quite incredible. Implemented a small lab and a makerspace lab in the elementary, hired math and ELA intervention specialists, actively running the Feed the Falcons assistance program. Now that is combined with the local ministerium, they are helping house that. There's a partnership with them. That's going really well. We have 2 teachers that are just knocking it out of the park with that, doing a great job where the kids' backpacks are filled for food every weekend. Special education, our life skills classes are now running a live coffee shop in our Future Ready Center. We've had additional multiple mental health organizations, ACW. That's an organization that's looking at some of our students who are placed outside for special needs. Can we bring those students back? And also looking at our kids who may be on the cusp of having to leave because we can't provide those services to them, and trying to maintain that so we can keep financial resources down. Chestnut Ridge, every student in our district now has an avenue where they can receive some type of mental health if they need that. All right, and prior to that, we only had a limited social worker. We now have 2 social workers, 2 mental health therapists. We have our 5 counselors that are in the district, and then we also have the Chestnut Ridge. That program itself will provide if a child needs services here in the district, where a lot of times our children, they needed services, but they could never get to those services. We now can do that here in our district. The growth of the SAP team at all levels, over 100 students district-wide were referred to SAP. This was last year. Partnerships with Fayette County Behavioral Health and Fayette County Drug and Alcohol, SAP teams. And the Intermediate Unit 1's wood fabrication program is now being housed in our school district, in which we have 8 of our own students participating in that. Food services, obtain community eligibility provision status to provide free meals to all district students. Obtain the fresh fruit and vegetable grant each year that helps all students. Obtain the numerous equipment grants for all 3 kitchens, allowing for quality food preparation. Serve thousands of drive-by pickups. If you remember the COVID, the work that the cafeteria ladies did was phenomenal in order to feed our community. Earned enough revenue to renovate the high school cafeteria and kitchen to modernize and elevate the food services. Obtained the Child Hunger Hero Award in 16 and in 21. Technology, as we said before, we went from one-to-one to initiative. We would not have been able to do that without the federal funds. The Promethean boards in every classroom, with outdated LCDs and projectors, so now they have state-of-the-art equipment. Upgraded the internal network and wireless network in all 3 buildings. A new phone system was upgraded, new laptops for every teacher, and the teachers seem to be embracing the technology inside their classrooms at a high level. Security, we've established a behavior threat assessment team to keep everyone safe. They meet once a month. They get things from the SAP or from a teacher or from a counselor. We review that so that we can put kids on the radar that maybe need help right away. Armed additional security staff, purchase metal detectors. We search 100% of all students that enter our middle school and high school every morning. Establish standards for security staff to ensure frequent security rounds are being met and kept and the buildings are secure. Upgraded and replaced the fire alarm system. Unfortunately, it didn't work too well today. Purchased the bag scanning device. That will be in place for next year, just like you see in airports when you put your luggage through. The same thing will happen with the students so that'll expedite the process of students coming in our buildings. The creation of our own area cyber school, taught by BASD teachers. Kids who go through that get a Tier 1 Brownsville diploma. Individualized progress checks, personalized academic support. They can participate in commencement exercise, after-school extracurricular activities, interscholastic activities, access to all district learning resources, and the curriculum is aligned with the PA academic learning standards for the BASD curriculum. The Zoom component for the high school students who receive special education services as well. The TV lab now is streaming morning announcements on our YouTube page. They stream many home games for sports. They collaborate with the media communications class to create advertisements for the businesses to be played on the scoreboard in the gym. The labs are available to be used by the teachers in their classrooms. The Future Ready Center was created new partnerships with the Southwest Corner Workforce Development, German American Chamber of Commerce, and Somerset Trust. They meet with each senior individually to check progress toward post-graduation goals, and they record and post videos presents of the speakers. So when these speakers come in, we're recording those in case somebody misses that. Those videos are archived and they can see it at a later point. The threat assessment team, which we already talked about. Future endeavors. The restructuring of the high school cafeteria receiving lines. Our goal was to try to get that started this winter. We had some issues with bid processing, so it probably won't get started till the following year. We've partnered with the University of Pittsburgh and Jefferson Morgan in the early stages to provide more high school electives. When you're a small school, you're limited to the electives that students can take. So we're going to partner with them. If they're teaching certain electives online that we don't have, and we have elective online courses that they don't have, we're working with both unions and both administrations to try to pull that off so our students have a bigger variety to choose classes. Researching current athletic facilities and developing a plan of action to move forward. There's a lot of extensive research being done right now on our facilities, and they're going to come back to us with some ideas of how we should move forward. Implementing a teacher mentoring program, and then partnering with local agencies to obtain K-12 funding. Through the Rivers of Steel and the CCP, I believe it's called, their community groups that have come to us, and we've had multiple meetings monthly, and we're looking to partner with these groups. It's the purpose of these grants are to enhance the community of Brownsville, but there has to be an educational component. So we're looking at partnering where we can do an after-school program for students, not only for feeding purposes and academic purposes, activity purposes and so forth, because a lot of times our kids leave here and they're leaving the places which are probably not as safe as if they would be here. So those are all areas that we've kind of gone through in the last 5 years that I wanted to make sure that the community and the public knew the hard work that these building principals and administrators have all done, and most of all, the teachers in their classrooms and the kids that are going through there. As you look around this room, we have our SIA groups, they're multiplying good. They've won numerous state titles, a couple national titles representing Brownsville. So from a local region area to a state level to a national level, Brownsville is being recognized on a very positive way. And I want to thank all those people, especially the board members in front of you here today, for allowing us to move forward this way. Thank you.
Can you hear me? You know, the heat detector shorted out, and once it did, that went all the way down through zone 3, and that's what made all the pool boxes look like they were pulled. They weren't pulled. Only thing they were, they all malfunctioned. There was no way that we could fix that in-house. They had to come, they got on their computer, they had to trace it all. They took the old ones out, we have new ones ordered, but there was nothing we could do about it.
Okay, so 3 fire companies responded. All 3 tell me they're waiting on a report because they say the alarm was full. Now, you or somebody have to call those 3 fire companies, West Brownsville, South Side, North Side, who started up the street.
All fire companies got canceled off.
They got
Correct.
canceled off,
So somebody here at school or somebody gave a proper passcode, that's the only way to have
which
it.
is illegal. You can't call the fire company. Am I correct? You cannot call the fire call off at a school.
It's like there's a security alarm, there's a panic alarm, you get the proper code.
My question is legitimate. I don't want to know how that happened.
It got called off. But whoever called it off, I didn't call it off.
I didn't say.
But whoever did call it off, it was called off well after we knew that there was no emergency in the school.
And here's what I'm getting at.
And if we left, if we could have had every fire department in Fayette County here for as long as it took to shut them
But
off.
someone, if there really was a fire, someone used a passcode to call the fire company off. And
But
I
I understand that, but that wasn't what the case was. I mean, whoever used that fire code was responsible enough to wait and to find out that there was no emergency here.
the fire companies were all on their way.
They were, I would hope that they were on their way because the fire alarm did go off. We did not pull it.
Shouldn't we have let them come in to look at the whole situation?
There was nothing that they could do for us. There was nothing that anyone here could do for us other than Intertech. That's the people who own the system, and they had to come in here, and they were the only ones that was able to clear that.
So then, anybody who has a passcode could call the fire company or the police if they don't know.
To be honest with you, I didn't even know there
I
was.
don't know how that works.
I have no passcode. If there's a passcode, I don't have it. I have no idea there's a passcode.
I always thought by law, once they were en route, somebody had to come in this building and deem it safe, and then it was all over with. It
I have no
wasn't just
clue.
like you could call them off.
I wish that fireman would come in because he was out there. I have someone that may want to speak, but he knows more about fire than fire.
I mean, we can go in, but again, when we have some comment from the public, we just have to do it.
Being a line officer, I'm a lieutenant in Luzerne Township. We run mutual aid with Hiller constantly. I've been here for the sprinkler system over at the elementary school when there was a flooding after school hours. What we are told was we were already en route. My company, 5, 6, 39, and I want to say West Brownsville we were already en route. So when me and Jake Bush were here on scene first before anybody else got close to here, somehow there was a cancellation. Me and Jake Bush stayed here as line officers for our respective departments. When we looked at the panel, it was telling us a pool station was pulled. 13F or 139F, one of the, the numbers were said early this morning. We've had a couple more calls all day today. So when we looked at that, we called Hiller, which Larry Furlong was over there. We had him bring over the floor plan for the school to figure out where this location was. He didn't know how to read it. I couldn't even understand it. I'm not an architect. I'm a fireman. That's what I do. So when we were going around, Jake told me, he said, listen, it's saying that it's a pool station pulled. We said, okay. We turned around. We started walking around trying to find it. We did find one that looked as it was pulled. We were told, no, it's not pulled. So when we go to reset the system, on every firefighter knows how to reset an alarm system through the panel. When you go to reset that, it should shut it off completely. Now I know your maintenance is saying that a heat sensor, moisture, that can affect those. Yes, it can. But when it's saying that a pool station was pulled, now you have the fireman saying, okay, well, it's telling us it pulled, it's not saying a malfunction, it's saying pulled. So with that being said, we are gonna investigate, we are gonna search around for that situation. Now, I was here when they started letting the kids back in school. There was 20 kids that got back in, and the alarm went off again, so they had to remove them again. I'm dating somebody that has kids that come here. So of course, she's messaging me, and I'm like, listen, I can't really talk about it right now. We're trying to find out the situation. The kids are all safe at the time. There is no fire that we can see. So yes, all departments were canceled. Yes, they were. But there was already 2 of us on scene that were already in the area when the alarm system came. So with that being said, it is certain companies, some companies do let the alarm system say, okay, well, they canceled us, we'll leave, we'll not come. But it is up to the area, whatever line officers are there at the moment. Now, this is Hiller's area. Hiller's fire chief wasn't on scene. It was me as a lieutenant for Laybell, and Jake Bush, which is a lieutenant from Northside Fire. So both of us were here already. So we're not gonna cancel if we're already here. We're gonna try to find out what the issue is. So when we looked at the panel, it's saying pulled. Now, why it's saying pulled, if it's a heat sensor issue, you got me. But the panel speaks for itself. It officially said it was pulled. So, and it gives us a number. Now, in order to find out which number that is, you gotta know the layout of the school, you gotta have the blueprints in front of you, and it was just a lot earlier today to find out where it was at. But we did find a pull station, look at as it was pulled. When it was flipped back up, we reset, it still goes off. So with it going off like that, now you got problems. Because somewhere along the line, either, like he said, somebody from the outside has to come in and refix the system. Because once we reset it, it should shut itself off and stay off. But today, the issue was it did keep going off, and I understand why the board did send the kids home, because you can't have that interruption all day long. So that's just coming from a fireman that was here. So,
Sir, I didn't get your first name, I apologize.
James
Your last
Brooks.
name. James, thank you. We will definitely take all that into consideration and dig into that a little bit deeper. And if you won't mind contacting me tomorrow, I wouldn't mind having you come in with us as we develop some procedurally, we make sure that we are accurate.
That's not a problem.
All right, thank you.
Yep.
Any other board questions, comments on superintendent's remarks? Just that it's very easy to work with $13 million. Federal government gives you $13 million. But that money's gonna run out. And we all know it within the year. We did establish those programs, they are effective and are working, but some of it's gonna be gone. That's all I have. Thank you. All right, public remarks on agenda items.
One, Gary Christopher. Just a couple of quick, Terry Christopher, for you guys that don't know me. Dr. Hartog, I don't know now. At one of the board member meetings that we had, I asked about, updating the policy on supplemental bullying. You guys said it was put on the agenda. What has happened since then, and how long does that process take?
We hope to have that up and running for our new handbooks for next year. And the process does take a little bit. We'll have to have a review from the committee. Is this working? Can you guys hear me? Okay. We have to have, the committee has to review that, then there has to be 2 readings from the board, and then for approval after that.
Okay, my next question is at the last board meeting, I had asked, I know I can't ask names, even though I already know, Mr. Hartog, was there a student brought back to our district who had some very serious criminal charges on him, and was he brought back to the district?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Yes.
Thank you. Okay, what security measures were being taken?
Well, I know they have additional security measures. Unfortunately, we had dealt with that issue for quite some time. But we were
Christopher, are you asking what is the district doing to keep the children and the staff safe?
Yes, that's what I'm asking, because this person, this other person, it was very serious, it was in the newspaper, you guys, I don't know if you read it, but it was very serious.
I mean, just telling you, well, steps are being taken, that doesn't answer your question.
I mean, I think we have our security, we talked about other meetings, metal detectors and things of that nature.
But I have for fact that my son does go here in high school, that all the kids are not being searched. So the 100% of a search, making sure it isn't that. So that is my concern, what if it's just a, 1%, that's a great thing. And I know it's possible in any school district, but I don't care, I worry about our school district, that's it. Yeah.
Mrs. Christopher, I can't talk about specifics about a child in the process, but I can tell you there's been steps put into place that involve security, that involve scheduling, involves transportation to minimize as much as possible. And that's about, I'm sorry that I have to be vague, but I have to protect it. And staffing as well. We're trying to minimize that as well.
Okay. And then my other question is, I was pretty quickly shut down the last board meeting, and I just need Dr. Hartbauer for you to verify, and something, because I can't find anything on it. I've researched and researched. I have been told that we're only allowed to speak for 3 minutes at board meetings, unless someone is willing to give us our time, which I have several people that spoke up in the audience and said, yeah. So my question is, how long are we allowed to speak at board meetings, and where is that in the policies? I need something that I can look at.
I'm not sure if that's actually written down as policy. I do believe that's in the policy. Sometimes it's not implemented strictly. Majority of boards will allow at public meeting, at business meeting, they will allow 3 minutes.
Hey, yeah, what is it, then if someone stands up and says, oh, give her my time.
I can just say from my experience, with other boards that I've represented, we don't allow them, districts, other authorities, that could be boroughs, townships. No, they keep it strict to the 3 minutes.
It's been a while, but I know our board, it has happened at our board meeting.
I'm just saying, I'm not
years
familiar with
ago.
that, with all the. No, that's okay, but all.
Address the board and say that I somehow need to put on the agenda, that we need to set a time, and if someone is being respectful and asking genuine questions, and someone says, hey, you can have my time, but I think we should be allowed to do that. So, you guys are the board, we need to, I don't know how to do that. but
That's
we need to
practice
do that.
when, in a public meeting on Thursday, which is 3 minutes, planning session, you can talk about. We have to wait a bit, or my meeting here.
Yeah, that's what it is general. Tonight, for example, the planning session, there's no minute. And that's why we have to come to the planning session, because it's the plan, right? There's not no set rules, everything, we can always try to keep out. If the business is Thursday, we try to keep a formal agenda.
Well, another thing we allow,
No, what you're doing tonight is, this is exactly right.
I'm at the board meeting, I'll finish my word and I'll start it, that way we know.
we have allowed audience members to give their 3 minutes. Or that hasn't happened for a while, but we've done.
I mean, it's not a problem.
Well, Mrs. Christopher, one thing, the meeting you're talking about, how you were shut down. One of the main problems I had with that meeting is our president did not run that meeting, the solicitor ran that meeting.
I agree.
The solicitor was shouting orders and telling people to stop talking. That should not have happened. Our president is who is supposed to be running the meeting, not a solicitor. Solicitor's there to give us advice. That was a very forceful meeting run by the solicitor. And a solicitor who has probably not been here to do any of our meetings in probably over 5 or 6 years.
Well, I thank you guys for that. And then, I've also heard that's gonna be coming up in the meeting that there may be a tax increase for all of us, a school tax increase.
And we're going to address that today, and that's the main purpose of this meeting today, Mrs. Christopher. Our business manager, Mr. Llewellyn, has 3 presentations, right? There has not been any board member that has said that they're going to raise taxes. The district, I know, the district's responsibility is to give the board the information so that they can make educated decisions. They will have 3 choices later today in the agenda. One is at a 0 tax rate, one is at a 0.5% tax rate, and the other is going to index. And Mr. Llewellyn will talk about the pros and cons of all three of those. Then the board needs to kind of make a decision which way they want to go so that he can have that on Thursday's agenda for a vote, all right?
Half a million, $45 to $95. If their house is 74. That's the total.
On your agenda, under personnel committee, item C, that is an incorrect date.
Yes,
That would be the 2023-2024 school year.
correct, we had it circled, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that, you saw that. So also, I do want to speak on behalf, I'm with the other chairs now. On behalf of the musical, I know there's a lot of musical kids are here. I don't know if any board members were able to see the musical as well as the public.
Yes, very nice.
But just so you know a little bit about the musical, Mrs. Rolfe put that musical together in less than 8 weeks.
Janet Stowe. I am standing, I'm not a very good public speaker, so I wrote my speech out. So please be patient with me. The reason why I'm here is because this is the end of the school year, and we're hoping that things continue to move forward for the musical and the band and all the kids. The reason why I'm speaking is because of my child, Mason Stowe. Mason Stowe has been involved with music starting at the 4th grade with the music teacher when they did the instrument introduction at the elementary school. On that day, Mason's learning how to play the clarinet. When Mason was able to join the marching band in the 6th grade, Mason moved to the drums. Now in 9th grade, my Mason has doubled his instruments by adding the trombone and playing with the marching band, jazz band, and concert band. I am here to stress how important it is to provide kids from elementary all the way up to the high school bands, give them band classes. Band should be scheduled so that kids in VOTEC, honor, and AP courses can participate. As it is right now, the VOTEC kids do not have the opportunity to take band because band is at 3rd period. Kids from VOTEC do not get back until 10:30, which is at the end of 4th period. Mason has told me on multiple occasions that the band room is his safe place. Kids find safety and comfort in the bands. I have heard from other students that Ms. Finoli has tried to make it a safe place for all the kids, especially with all the bullying going on in person and on social media platforms on a daily basis. I have watched the kids grow musically and become more mature since Ms. Finoli has been hired. On another note, I remember last football season, the band was not allowed to attend a football game because it was out of state, but the team was allowed to go. Here's my question for everybody. Imagine how it made those band kids feel that they were told they were not allowed to go to the game. The band should get as much support as baseball, softball, track, football, soccer, and any other sport I did not mention. I'm not here to put blame on anyone. I want the district to know how important band is to our students. Mason will be going into 10th grade next year, taking AP and honor courses. I want to make sure my child is going to have the opportunity to have band during school hours and for band to be treated as equally as all the other extracurricular activities. It is important to me to make sure all kids will get to continue to have their safe space and to do what they love. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Nanette.
Amanda Rice.
Hi, I don't really have a speech written up like Nanette, but I was a former band student, not at this school, at a different school, and we got to go do a lot of activities on our own with the band, with all the sports and everything else. If you take band away from these kids, not everybody's a sports kid. You taking band away from these kids gives some of these kids who don't fit into the sports or the clubs or anything else like that, you take away, like Nanette said, their safe space. They can be whoever they want to be there. They get accepted by every single student in that band. And if you, even with the musical, you take that away, that takes away from the band kids, from the kids who want an extra different activity other than sports, because a lot of them shine. I have a little cousin who has been in The Little Mermaid, who was recently in Annie, played a major role. Her mother, who used to do band, or do musicals, also got to do it. My kids started, but unfortunately had to drop out because of work. It gives the kids an outlet. It gives them a creative outlet. It helps their mental health. It helps their behavior because they get to be seen by more than just their parents. And sometimes that's what the kids really need. So really, you guys have to save band. If you're gonna give it to the elementary school kids, they need something in high school to get these creative outlets and everything else out to. You can't take it away from the older kids.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Well, not only you, but if there's people here speaking up about the band, I had 3 people contact me over the weekend. Is there a
Yeah,
rumor?
you said we were
what's
taking
going on?
band.
We, as a board, have not discussed
Uh-uh.
getting rid of the
Because you
band.
guys are moving, you're not giving
Yeah.
the band kids time to do it during the school day. The VOTEC kids, if they can't do that, then how are they gonna be able to participate?
I mean, maybe I can shed some light on this for you, all right? there is no discussion of doing away with band or the music. In fact, the goal is to try to enhance that as much as we can, okay? In fact, at the elementary level this year, we're making sure that, our band director gets down there, so she'll be able to see third, fourth, and fifth grade. Every third grade, fourth grade, and fifth grade student will have an opportunity to be with Mrs. Margnoli at some point.
But is that gonna take away from high school kids then?
Right, well, there's a couple things that we have to look into. We have to look into, she can only teach so many classes, and there's 12 grades, okay? So we have to look at that and how we apply things in the curriculum. So those are all things that we're looking at, and just like you said, we started out with 12 kids. I know that when they march around my office in the afternoon, they're up over 20 now, so it's a positive feeling to see
And I
that
think
happen.
next year
Keith.
they're gonna have like 39 at
Yeah,
least.
Keith, can I speak real quick? Can we give her some help? I heard there's a lot of pressure on her.
Yes. Because next
Hold on,
year,
Kev.
if she doesn't have parents,
Meeting, was Mr. Finoli allowed in that meeting? Was she in the meeting with the man?
What meeting are you talking about?
Well, I'm asking,
she's at every meeting. Every band meeting we have, she's there.
was she there at the meeting? They have.
Why can't we give her some help?
Was she
Why
not
can't
in the debate?
we give her some help so she doesn't leave?
Are you talking about our schedule?
No, no, it's not about, this is about, was she part of the meeting? No, was she involved from start to
The last meeting that I had, Mr. Bashir, I spoke to, we were having a meeting with Mrs. Margnoli. I had an emergency at home. I met with the two, BEA reps and explained to them what we were doing. I saw Mrs. Margnoli for 30 seconds and I had to run because I had to be at the hospital. So Mrs. Margnoli was not in there at the time that I spoke to both Mrs. Harvey and Mrs. Victor regarding the band and the scheduling. They then went over with the scheduling to let her know that that we're going to increase our time at the elementary school, and that's what we were looking to do. Our time at the elementary and the middle school.
My point is this, no meeting should be taking place without her. She has done wonders since she came here.
Mr. Bashir, nobody denied that, and if she needed to be,
I'm gonna speak here. I asked a month ago, about the poor girl wasn't getting paid coming in at 7:30 in the morning, leaving here at 7 o'clock at night, going back to West Virginia. No one told her she gets a stipend. No one told her she does get a stipend. The poor girl was working for weeks without money. So when I heard the meeting was there, and she wasn't there, that red flags me. So that's why I called you that day when you were in a Zoom meeting. And there was a remark made, which I'm not gonna make, I'm not gonna say now, but I will. And it's not fair. Mrs. Magnoli, I don't know her, she walked in here, other than she's turned this band completely around. It's on its way up, so don't derail it. And if you're saying about me,
We don't want to. The thing to fix it is, can we fix it and give her some help, Keith? That's the thing.
absolutely.
Like, we can look to get her some help.
Right.
So we don't lose her.
Right.
Yeah, so we don't lose her.
So, David, from what we're hearing is, all kids go home. They don't go home for a while. And if people work every day, how do you get your kids here? Right now, they can just stay after school and she's there, it's perfect.
Right, and that meeting was left that there's flexibility at the beginning and at the end of her schedule, and that we'll continue to work with her on that.
I guess my, and I don't want to speak, but I kind of want to say something that Mrs. Snow, Marissa built this band. We started this school year with 15 kids in the marching band. 15. And we're up to how many did you success? 30. If you're taking Marissa, which I know my son, he plays sports, but he is absolutely in love with band. Absolutely. And his biggest thing is he can go to Marissa. And Marissa takes that time with him and helps him to build that. And he wants to utilize his music as music therapy and mental health when he gets older.
we've had 5 band records in 5 years. We have
I don't want to lose her. No, we don't want to lose her. We can't lose her. Now she's doing a job like that.
How is she going to continue with the middle school and high school and continue to build something that is becoming fantastic? We have had how many awards just this year with Marissa doing marching band?
I am aware.
We just got to get her help.
I'm just gonna give her help. We have to
We
give
get
her
her help.
so she can say what she is. But it's just as important, let me just do that, it's just as important that we develop that feeder program, because she is doing wonderful things. So to me, that would look like something that she helps to bring in somebody who
numbers like that, we don't wanna stop it. We've had band, what, before, 5 or 10? When I first got on the board? Yeah, it was so low we better. And they sound excellent now. And you have, they've had basketball games there. Yeah, it sounds like getting back.
And I don't think anybody's saying moving her permanently to elementary. I mean, it's just, I think it's just stretching her too thin. Out here, right?
Her dedication was so serious, she was working with no pay.
You gotta give her help. Yeah.
You have kids that are having a hard enough time finding transportation, move from beginning. Now you're gonna push this program out an hour past the end of the school day, and they're not gonna be able to return.
I think we've heard your suggestions completely.
I-
And I don't speak for myself.
No.
The
Well-
direction of the board will be to.
Yeah, we will review this with Ms. Spargnoli and the building principals, come up with a few different proposals, bring them to the board, and we'll go from there.
The solid band director we've had in this school district for 10 years. Now we don't want to lose that person, so somebody got to figure something out. I'm not smart enough, so.
If she would have been coaching a sport, she would have already had a few people help her.
You just switch that right in there nicely.
Come on down so we can hear you.
I am deeply invested into this band. My mother and my mom's boyfriend has bought and supplied this band's instruments for the elementary, middle, and high school. Because Miss Farnolli has gave students her personal instruments to use, which is not very safe in the hands of an elementary schooler. It could get dented and damaged. But I play 3 instruments in 3 different bands, and I am deeply invested into the musical, and it has saved me. So next year when I go into 9th grade, I have to pick honors English and band, which are 2 of my most loved things. I plan to go to college for music and music journalism. And I am unable to pick between honors English and band, which I would really love to take both, which is a really big conflict for me. So I was wondering if we could figure something out about this.
Grayson, we can always figure something out. I will talk to Mrs. Stout as well so we can look at the schedule. The one thing I have to tell you though, it's unfortunate in a small school with limited staff, the amount of, that's what I spoke about earlier about partnering with Jefferson Morgan, because you don't get to get all the electives because of teacher schedules and the total amount of kids in a class. But we'll do our best to take a look at this for you, okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'm hearing that duct tape. They are duct taped. Some of the
Some of the band instruments duct tape? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
She's doing her best to fix the instruments they have, but a lot of them are subpar.
There should be no fixing. That's just like playing a sport. You just football down to 5. You get saxophone to 5. I don't know if most of these people are on board sometimes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I'm the drum major of the marching
Could you give
band.
us your name, please?
Rena Yoler.
Thank you.
So I'm the drum major of the marching band, and if we would move the practice to an hour later, I wouldn't personally be able to make it back to practice. And without a drum major or somebody else to conduct, there's no tempo kept in the band and everything would crash apart. So, and I wouldn't have a ride back to the school because of my at home and my home life. So it would make it very difficult for me, and I know for quite a few other students who don't have the greatest home life. And a lot of parents aren't exactly supportive, which makes it even harder. So if we would move the schedule to a later time, which is changing, it could aggravate other parents, and that would not be good for the students, and it'd be harder for us to show up. And I forgot what I was going to say. But it'd just be really nice if we could keep it from 2:30, which is right after school, which is way easier for me because then I could walk home or I could catch a ride from somebody else home. But I can never go home and then walk back because I would be late to the rehearsal.
You want to stay at the earlier time, is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point that I don't think I was aware of, that it sounds like there's a suggestion of moving this to a later time.
Yeah, that's
To
not.
accommodate the elementary, is that why?
Right, but they're done a little bit later in her schedule. The elementary's done later than what the
All right,
secondary
well,
is.
then, I think that's support, and like I said earlier, you did a very nice job of articulating that and bringing it to light, that you need to maintain the schedule. In doing that, we need to find somebody who can support the elementary rather than changing the schedule. Also,
That's what you know.
an activity bus, that if you don't need to do it, because no reason why we couldn't have a bus and take kids on the day.
Chloe, Tressa.
Hello and good afternoon. My name is Chloe Tressa. I recently played in the musical Annie Jr. as Pepper. I must say it was a really great experience for me. I've learned like so much like new things and stuff. And I've met like a lot of fantastic people that I relate to. At first I was like really nervous, but it made me feel more, courageous and stuff. I learned that I had a lot more in me than I thought I did. It allowed me to express and become more confident in myself, which I suffer through social anxiety and stuff, and I was really nervous joining this musical, and like a couple of my friends of mine persuaded me to join this because, they thought it would be a great experience for me, and, I'm honestly very grateful for that. My music director, Mrs. Fagnoli, and my theater director, Mrs. Rolfe, taught me that I have talent in myself. They've worked so hard, and like I'm like so proud of them. They really showed us like what we got in ourselves, and I was very dedicated to this musical because it was very important to me. I didn't miss not one rehearsal, and that took a lot. I believe that this is the perfect hobby for me. It put me more out there, more open, more social, etc. I made a lot more friends and met people just like me. This musical made me feel safe and accepted, and I don't feel that a lot in the school. Since kindergarten, I didn't feel very accepted, so joining this musical, really helped out. Theater made us feel like family. Like all of us are cast members, directors, all of them. We all feel like family, and that's how theater should be. So what this speech is about, I feel like we should open a theater program production for our school and community. It would really be good for us children. It's our way to express ourselves and learn more things. I've met people in this musical, like myself, who didn't believe in themselves and thought they didn't have it in them. We discover talent in ourselves. Theater is a very important life skill and needs more attention, in my opinion. Most materials and costumes should already be provided and paid for by the school for us theater kids, The school provides pretty much everything for any other activities besides probably uniforms, but And where was I at? And my dad actually almost made me quit because we had to pay for our costumes, and like it put a lot of stress on us, a lot of us. And Theater is no different than any other academic sports like football, soccer, softball, basketball, etc. Most of us cast members participated in nothing else like myself. I mean, most like participated in band, but some of us this is the only hobby we did. So yeah, this is our sport. This musical and past ones taught us children time management, helping and caring for others, be more out there, and like stuff along the lines of that. It helps us express ourselves and become more social. You meet new people that you can work together with and build great friendships. So my point is, I think we should expand our theater and open a theater program. It would be wonderful for our school and for us, all of us. Thank you.
Chloe, I think it's evident what the theater program has done for you to be able to come up here and so eloquently speak about what you just did. So our goal, and Mrs. Rolfe, as well as when I had conversations with her early on, was to get this off the ground this year for kids just like you, all right? And the goal is to keep moving this thing forward as we can and support it the best that we can. So everything within our power, we're going to try to do that. Thank you.
So pretty much everything has already been said at the beginning, but just thank you for listening to our concerns and like understanding where we're coming from, especially with scheduling. And it's great to hear that you're wanting to see the art program continue with the musical band because it really, as you see, means a lot.
I often ask people, I'll ask people to come to the meetings. When you have things to say, please come to the meetings, speak up and let us know. And this is a perfect example. If you guys would not have come to this meeting tonight, we would not know all this. I mean, you brought to light, well, we pretty much knew what we had in our music teacher and everything, but I mean, how much it actually means to the kids. And that's what we want to keep growing. You know, if it's, I can't think which girl brought up it's pretty much therapy for her. And that's what we want, because I know we've talked about, you know, what can we do for a lot of these kids that's struggling? They're struggling, you know. Dr. Hartbauer brought up about some of the elementary kids have actually had thoughts of suicide, things like that. If we can bring a lot out of the kids that's just been sitting there, you know, calmly, this is great. This is great. What I'm seeing, you know, with a couple of these kids getting up, speaking to us like this is
I mean, it's gotta come from the kids, like, we really listen to you guys. So you just come and speak, you got something to say, you know, come and speak at these meetings, and as you can see, how we can do the homework.
And the amount of hours that Mrs. Park always puts in is tremendous. So she's here after school every day. So she does need a specific time.
Who's next?
I'm going to reserve my comments till Thursday for other information. For my comments.
I don't know if I need a microphone, you guys. I might be short.
Thank you, Mrs. Clerk.
Charlotte Gable. Hello, my name is Charlotte Gable, most of you know who I am. One, I do want to say, board, I have been a part of the theater with Mrs. Rawl. I was actually brought in as a parent last minute to help organize our elementary students. And what she was able to do with her and Mrs. Fernoli in a short amount of time for a musical, I will say is miracle. I was a part of the backstage crew. I will tell you that it
Ms. Gibble, I will email you tomorrow with my list that I have. You can double check that and then send it back to me, and then we'll set up a time to go over it.
Here's the thing too, no one is, I can probably speak for everybody. Nobody on this board is not trying to address any issue that's in the district. No one's hiding nothing. No, we're sitting up here, like you said, we're public servants. We're serving you guys. We're not trying to hide nothing. I'm strictly here mostly for the kids. I have to do business, administration business. But anything, I deal just as much as what you spoke about personally. Believe me, I'm heavily involved in all these kids' lives in this district. As you can see, you can go back to my page 20 years ago and look. And I don't pick and choose, it's all kids. So it's not that there's nothing hiding, it's just like we all need to work together. It ain't, hold on one second, we all have to work together. We can't just point fingers because nothing's never gonna get resolved. I answer the phone, I pick the phone up for probably you guys, all the time. This would go back to years ago before I was on the board, for being involved immediately, but we have to work together. We can't keep pointing fingers and saying this stuff, or we're never gonna go forward. You're gonna be right back here, Charlotte, in 5 years. Saying the same thing you just said.
You guys have to work together, but
Yeah.
I know for a fact there's a lot that goes on that your board members, you don't know.
Well, that's what not to say that too, but that's what I mean. So when there's things said, and that, yeah, we don't want to argue, but I understand that.
We have time for fun.
Yeah,
I
but
don't want to start a situation.
me speaking, I'm just saying we have to work together, or we're going to be right back to the same thing if we don't. It's just going to keep falling still, and we don't want none of that stuff happening. No kid, I know I don't. I take that very personal. I'm not up here for no other reason but that. That's it. You know, there's nothing other reason to get out of here. You know what I mean? But we have to work together and figure out a plan. We have to sit down with Keith, and you just got to figure out how you can talk. And if you got ideas of how these things can stop, we know bullying is a serious issue. Then we have to work together to stop it. Mental health is a serious issue. I work with. Well, that's what I'm, Charlotte. That's what I mean. But there was but that's what I'm saying. Well, now you're addressing. We need to figure out if that doesn't work going forward, then that might not work no more. That's what I'm trying to explain to you. So that's where we have to sit down and figure out, hey, they're not doing X, Y, and Z. So then this might not be the plan we need to go with anymore. But we have to do it together. That's where you got to sit down, and that's where you got to get corrected. Yeah. Yeah, that's where it needs to be corrected.
Everybody needs to be aware, because I
Yeah.
can see it from the high school to the elementary. I only went back to coaching because we don't have people to coach our kids.
But when you go with coaching, we have coaches. But
No,
coaching,
no, for elementary, like for right.
well, yeah, but listen, I know coaching's a hard thing. You have to look at it around coaching. You have to get through clearances. There are a lot of people that have done time. They could be good coaches, but they can't get clearances. They might have changed their lives. I know 3 or 4 individuals right now that have been changed their life for 10 to 15 years. They can't be coaches just because of what they might have done in their past. It might have just not been bad things, but if you have a record, you can't get clearances. So that X's out a lot of coaches in Brownsville District. We are on an island ourselves. Coaches are not coming into here. We had a football position sit for forever before Scooter sat and said, can you take it? Nobody wanted to take the high school football position. When I was a kid, they'd have jumped at that because it's so hard coaching. It is not simple anymore. You're dealing with a whole range of things when you're coaching kids. It is just like when Coach Rock was down there. Coach Rock said, Terry, do X, Y, and Z. Okay, Coach, I got it. And then Mom's dropped me off to practice. You got it. Okay, all that worked out. It's not that. There's so many things for now coaching these kids and just keeping them on a team. Just to get them to even be good, that's one thing. But just like it's a whole thing, we have to work together. It's not going to work. This board might be looked different. This new board you get up here, it's still going to be the same because you don't work together, nothing's changing. I've been in Brownsville my whole life. I was on both sides of this. I was stood in front of this board because I was a troublemaker. And they had to make a decision if I could play in the game or if I'm even allowed back into school. So I know all these. I have anxiety. You got my mother sitting there. I've had anxiety since what? Kindergarten. I was before they even knew what it was. I dealt with all this stuff. That's why I'm on the board. I'm not making this up. You can go check my IEPs. I've been through all that. Learning support. I've been through all that. To walk through get into college and be successful. But it took, like she said, it took a lot of people to get me. Coach there. I took Mr. Gates, which isn't here. He was my principal. It took a lot of people to finally get me to where I am today. Because I have friends that are sitting in federal prison for the 4th time. Because they went through this district, and same thing. We had the same thing, but they just were missing something. Because someone didn't give them the extra talk the coach might have gave me. And gave up and said, I'm done with him. So now they're on their 4th stint. So that's what I'm saying. I understand what you're saying. But it isn't to place blame. We got to stop that in this district. If you just keep doing this, it's not going to change. I'm telling you.
Nobody's placing blame.
What I'm saying, we have to. I'm not saying you are, but we have to stop that. I'm just going to say one more thing, and I'll shut up. But we have to work together. Everybody got problems. We know. But we have to work together.
What's really going on with these
Well,
students?
and that's why we're going to address it. That's what I said. We're going to address it.
Seriously, these kids and the fact that these kids are feeling uncomfortable.
We don't want that, Charlotte. We don't. I don't. Do you, Dorsey?
No, and as a
Like,
parent,
do you, Coach?
so as a parent,
No.
I'm coming to you and presenting the same thing that you've been presenting. The cell phone policy has been brought up.
And we're going to address that. He's in the rezone.
It wasn't in the minutes 2 months ago when we addressed it.
But believe me, it isn't going to get lost. There's board members that ain't going to let that get lost.
So are we really making
You're
this
looking for
and how we-
progress.
Yeah.
You're looking for
Yeah,
progress.
that's why I want to ask
Yeah.
specifically, as Secretary of the Board tonight in charge, that Dr. Hartbauer maintain this list, and that he confer with you, that you agree that the list is accurate. Again, it's not there's no quick fix here, there's no band-aid.
No, there's no.
Going to be a time we have to keep
We have to
going.
start-
It's just not going to be.
we have to start with your
We're not
list.
going to be satisfied.
So that we can begin the process of implementing corrective actions, right? And those corrective actions may be changing something that we're doing currently, it may be implementing something completely new, and things of that sort, but it has to start with your concerns that you brought up, and that you agree that he's captured them correctly.
Can I ask one question? I'm hearing about the coaching, nobody wanted to be able to coach the football team when it was open. Well, I would like to address that me and 3 other semi-pro football coaches that said we would coach for free, and because I'm on the ballot to run for school board, I was told, no, rip yours up because you're not allowed to. So what is the issue between somebody that's on a board that you don't get paid to do to be able to coach? Because I'm looking at it as, if I'm volunteering my time, or willing to volunteer my time to be on the board to better our schools for our children, why can't I be a football coach?
You can, but you can't be paid. You have to be volunteer.
I said I would coach the football team for free. My coaching resume as a player and a coach, I have multiple championships in football as a player and a coach, and I know I can turn this football program around. But instead, we went around and put a baseball coach that is also a teacher, an athletic director, as the head football coach. And I talked to Scooter one-on-one and told him, I will coach for free. I don't want money.
Brooks, I don't mean to cut you off, but I do want to make sure that the public understands this. Every child that has been in a fight or any altercation has been disciplined. There has not been one incident that they have not been disciplined. They've been disciplined according to our procedures. If they're severe enough that they need to be placed outside, then those processes are done. Mr. Davis has called, there's an agreement that's made between the families. They can choose to take that agreement and be placed outside, or they can come in front of the board for possible expulsion. Most of those students take the agreement and take where we process
I
them.
mean, if you think about what's happening, okay, you're in a physical fight where you're breaking a kid's leg. That right there should not even be a thought in the board's mind.
Correct.
Or the principal's mind, you're expelled.
Yeah. And most of the times in severe situations, those things go through those processes,
And then
okay?
your police officers are getting knocked down in these fights.
Right. The other thing that I want to assure you is that we have met recently with security and with the building principals to discuss the whole process for the rest of the year. I've asked them to gather data from the last 5 years in regards to the amount of discipline and see if there's an increase, a decrease, and stuff like that. I will be presenting that to the board as soon as I get it all, okay?
Now, there is other things going on. I'm not even on this board. People know I'm on it. People are coming to me, getting my input on stuff. And I'm like, listen, all I can tell you is if I'm elected, stuff's gonna change. I'm gonna push for everything that's right for the kids. If it's not for the kids, and not gonna help the kids, I'm voting no. Point blank. Because I'm all about the youth. They're the leaders of the future of tomorrow. So without them, there is no tomorrow. So, but all I would ask is that the communication level between you guys, the principals, the teachers, the nurses, the maintenance workers, be honest with each other, stop lying, and communicate. Because without communication, we're not going nowhere.
Well, what you're saying about communication, like, take what Mrs. Gibble was saying. I have brought up for quite some time about poor communication. And I'm not saying board members, but us getting, as board members, proper information back. If I sent you a text and it said, child went to the hospital, possible broken leg, you would think, injured leg, you would probably think, oh, kid got hurt in gym class. Nowhere, as a board member, did I get the information, no, this child was beaten in a fight and they broke his leg. Didn't get that. All these fights that have happened after school, happened down the road, we're not hearing about this.
I will tell you.
Susie said to Mrs. Gibble about something that she never heard, certain things. I called Terry on the phone and I tell Terry something, he says, well, I didn't know that. Or somebody calls me and I didn't know that. And that's a big problem.
It is.
Everything should be communicated to this board, open, so we could all work together.
Because I will tell you this right now, 3 fights that happened that day in this school are all video. People have videos of it. I'm not gonna say I may have, but I'm gonna let you know now. The one with the kids in the hallway, the kid that broke his leg, he did not fall off the ladder, so I don't know where that information came from. It was a physical altercation. It's a video that was sent to people that we've seen firsthand. The second fight, the girl goes into the classroom and just starts beating the brakes off of this girl for what? Why didn't the teacher step in? The third fight happened right out here in front of the buses, and that was a huge fight. We got the buses blowing their horns. Where's anybody at to break this up? It's the little things that are making parents want to leave Brownsville. It's not, you can't really say it's the school, but it is the safety, the concern for parents' kids and the safety inside the school. That's why people are moving their kids out. It is. At the end of the day, stricter discipline has to be handed down for these bullies that want to keep fighting every single day. Because I've counted multiple, I could say at least 20 fights in about a month. That videos are out there. You guys don't see the videos, but parents are getting videos. It's the Brownsville High School fight page.
And I want to emphasize this to the public too. Every school district has a fight page. There's a Laurel Highlands fight page, a Brownsville fight page. We get that. We understand that there's videos out there. But I also want you to understand that every situation that we have, our administration has dealt with, and they have dealt with accordingly with a proper discipline that needs to be administered. So, and we will continue that. Do we have issues that we need to correct? Absolutely, all right? But like we said early on, there's a lot of good that's going on here too, and I'm gonna get the numbers to the board so that they can see the difference, okay? Mr. Harvey.
I just want to take the time to thank everybody for their comments, and it's nearly, 2 hours worth, but we've always said that we'd rather, and I think Mr. Forsey said it earlier, we'd rather everybody come to this planning session and voice their comments, and sit here and listen to, it's open, it's unlimited, so I appreciate that. It's good dialogue, obviously, there needs to be any follow-up afterwards to ensure everything is captured, please do so, and we'll take the appropriate follow-up as necessary. Trustee, one more comment?
Yes, sorry, I was on this one.
Okay, go right ahead.
I know I was here a couple months ago and talked about Frank Bergar, and we meant that, from a parent's point of view. But I know he's only been 1 week, but I know talking to him, his heart is still here. And I believe that he wants to be here. I'm still not really sure why he left and how everything went down, but given the opportunity, and I don't know if you can answer this, is how could he come back? Does he have to wait until the position is posted or he applied? What could he do?
Ma'am, I'm sorry, I missed the first part. Are you referring to Mr. Berdar coming back? He was already hired by another school district, and he's accepted that position.
No, I do understand that, but to fill his position again.
He could always reapply if he wanted, yeah.
Is that what he needs?
Right, he's more than welcome to do it, yes, yeah.
Because I know his heart is still here.
Just along those lines, is it still, like, how is the position?
The position currently is being, Dr. Mahan is doing both positions right now. He's doing the cyber coordinator position and the elementary principal position. And then next month, we hope to present to the board how we're going to move forward administratively.
You got one, go.
Hi, I'm Marlene Duke. This is Duke. Hey, everybody. I want you to know how proud you should be of Dr. Mayhem. He is coming in and he actually answers your emails. He will actually come and take a child, carry him out of the room when they're kicking and they're biting. He is doing a wonderful job. I've been here for a long time. I've seen kids come and I've seen kids go. But for a young principal, he's got the right attitude and getting back to step, not afraid to make a decision, not afraid to say, you're wrong, you're out, which is wonderful. I don't know where he stands. I know he's my boss for now, but I want to let you know how I can see a difference. And the discipline does have to get under control. It does. The world is changing. We understand that. Teachers have to get control, but there are situations that sometimes children come and it is such a bad environment that the children are having problems. We deal with all that. But for right now, I'm sticking my nose in, and I just want you to know what a good job he is doing.
Jeremy Hall.
Jeremy, come on down.
I just want to address a situation that happened, May 11th, last Thursday, involving my son, the teacher, and another student.
Jeremy, before you go any further, we can't mention any names, whether it's a teacher or student or anything like that, okay? If that's the case, I can set up something with you to discuss that later. If you can keep it generic, then that would be fine.
But, yeah, so apparently the teacher aggressively grabbed a child and this other child, yanking them, pulling them so much that they were shouting, "Get off of me." Other witnesses, students, and parents saw it. When the parent got out of their vehicle, they were picking up the child, approached the teacher, and she, scoffed it off and walked away from
you mean. It's- yeah.
She emailed you about it, and then I think you tagged Dr. Hand on.
Yeah, so, Mr. Huffman, let me just try to put you at ease here a little bit. I'll make contact with you tomorrow, and I'll be glad to take all that stuff down. I know we talked to Dr. Mahan this morning, and he was to have conversations, and I think that he did either with your wife or whoever the other person was, and I can get more information, and we can go for that. I'd be glad to sit down and spend however much time you need to go over this with you. Okay. We can set it up tomorrow or Wednesday, whatever's convenient for you, okay? My secretary is right behind you. She'll give you my email address and phone number so that we can make contact, okay? Okay, thank you.
All right, again, I thank everybody for their comments, and we're gonna move on to discuss bills, comments on the funds. Anything?
Page 9. Andrews and Price, $7,997.
And Andrews and Price, Mrs. Upich, is their insurance carriers that are working on some of these cases with IEPs. Due process, they're due process hearings.
It's three cases, we can't say what they are, but there are three cases that were.
But it's IEP.
Well, no, they're,
They're-
No?
that's not correct, it's not the, IEP case. Well, I guess one technically is, but the other two, but these are two other ongoing cases that everyone's aware of. I can't say it probably
Right.
who they are.
The one case, I think there was some information in here that we're being asked in a settlement to give that person $3,000 and some dollars. I don't have it at my fingertips.
Is that, Mr. Dorsey, are you referring to the one that was sent to you at the end of the week?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
in
that one-
executive session, it'd just be explained why
Yes.
we're paying this person money.
We can go over that with you in exec session.
Yep.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have. In Jerry's report, said that we're still down one grass cutter. With summer coming and all the rain and everything, what are we doing about this grass cutter position?
We still have been advertising and trying to fill it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Page 5, PSA count 19,000.
Something counts.
So that is, 403B contribution, so, employees can withhold money out of their paychecks and pay to a 403B, and that's just paying their money to the companies that they decide to invest in.
Page 12, once again this month, we're paying Kelly Services $15,302.76. As a board member, I'd like to get some type of a breakdown. What are they doing? How many hours are they putting in? Something like that, because it's every month, we're paying them $15,000 or so. I mean, just, are we getting reports on what they're doing? I don't want names of kids they're working with, but what are they doing for all this money?
We will get you a report on that, Mr. Dorsey.
Any other questions?
One other thing, we go through administrators' reports in our packet every month, and we get reports from the principals, Dr. Martin, Jerry, cafeteria. One thing that, I don't know, it struck me, we don't get a report in there from the superintendent.
You get a capsule every Friday from us. There was a little period of 4 weeks before.
Inconsistently, we do.
you've always got, with the exception of 4 weeks in my tenure here, you've always gotten a capsule on a Friday. And that highlights all the things that happens during that week.
But we can't get a written report in the board report?
If you'd like me to copy that twice, I'll be more than glad to do that for you.
Yeah, I would.
Okay.
Any other questions? There's one more, Mr. Harvey. It's about you said somebody somewhere. I asked last month if reports would start coming in on these seminars. Page 15. $2,551. Will there be a report?
Yes, there will be. That has not occurred yet, but when they come back, they'll be reported. Correct.
Any other questions on the bills? Education, Mr. Dorsey?
Okay, item A, discussion on approving the quote from SWY E360 Learning in the amount of $12,331.20. That's under ESSER funds.
Okay, what this is, it's a software device that will look at all the software being used within our district, from instructional and to anything that we're using to see that it's being used to its fullest and fidelity-wise. It'll pick up waste, and it'll also aggregate the data to determine whether that's having an academic success as well. So it's a matter of us doing our due diligence financially to make sure that we're using programs as they're supposed to be used, and if not, then to move on away from that.
Is this something we need to determine that, or can't we determine?
It
what
is,
this
because it's gonna give us actual data. We can get data when we survey teachers and ask them if they're using it, but how are they using it? Are they using, one teacher might be using it one time a week, one person might be using it every period all day long. This will give us the exact data, how many kids are using this, how many teachers are using, how much is being used, and is it having an impact academically?
Now, this will go on for one school year?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Item B, we have discussed approving the proposal with Edmonton for exact path diagnostic and learning path math library program license in the amount of $5,482. That's under ESSER funds also.
This is a teacher tool to allow kids in middle school math that puts a child, it'll assess the child where their level, or their ability level is, and provide problems in instruction based on their ability level so that they can move forward.
Will this program will be a tutoring program?
No, this is an actual instruction, is an actual course that they use. They can use in their courses, they can use in their instruction. So an example is if somebody is taking algebra and they're learning the concepts of algebra, their kids can grow at different levels. This is in excess. It can be used either as remediation or enrichment for a child, depending on what their ability level is when they're on there.
Who's proposing? Does this come from the school teacher?
This is when we had licensees.
Yeah.
Right.
Sells them off on the board?
No, we've always used Exact Path. We had 50 licenses in the past, and then as we started to go on the ATSI program and looking at ways that we can improve upon, Dr. Martin, I don't want to take words. I believe you met with the teachers, and if you want to speak on that, I don't want to put you on the spot, but.
Yeah, not as much the high school teachers. They are predominantly using Study Island, but the middle school teachers utilize this, and they were very satisfied with it. So when we had a meeting with them, Mr. Clemmer was involved in that meeting as well. We decided to move forward and keep it there at the middle school, assuming you guys approve that.
Okay, item C, discussion approving the Student in Action SIA team to attend the National SIA Team Competition in Washington, D.C., June 20th to 23rd. Cost is $4,000. That is within budgetary guidelines. If nothing, then item D, discuss approving educational services agreement with for the IU1 and Brownsville School District for the 2023-24 school year. Item C, discuss approving settlement agreement and release with student A in the Brownsville School District. And that's the one I think I was talking about.
Correct.
earlier. And that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. I'll wait for Mr. Gates and Mrs. Caravecchia. For personnel, first item is to discuss accepting the letter of retirement of Patty Galloway effective September 29th, 2023. Item B is discuss approving the terminal sabbatical request from Mr. Benetti for the first semester of the 23-24 school year for health reasons. And C,
discuss the proposal for level 3 ballistic shield. And that's paid with the PCCD grant, J1.
These are shields for our security guards, protective shields. And again, that was a grant that was brought through Mr. Nicholson to be able to do that.
Thank you. Item E, discuss the proposal for the Garrett walk-through metal detector for the entrance of the elementary school, paid with.
Again, through that same grant, an extra walk-through metal detector for our elementary.
And discuss proposals for 7 ballistic vests, which would be utilized by security staff in an event of an active shooter emergency.
Again, through the
Paid.
grant again.
Paid.
Yep.
And then athletics, discuss hiring Crystal Ackerman as assistant high school volleyball coach for the, would that be the 23-24 year?
Yes.
Yeah, 23-24 school year with compensation set at $2,907.
Will she meet with the athletic director to understand our rules?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's standard usually.
I'll make sure.
All right, going back to discuss the budget. Okay, we have 3 proposals before us, Mr. Llewellyn.
Yeah, so the board was all given, 3 different proposals, just to kind of see which route,
Pull this over.
Yeah, so the board was given 3 different proposals for the, budget. One of them being that there's no tax increase, one being a partial tax increase, and then the index increase, which the school district's allowed to increase to for the year. So those are the 3 proposals that are presented, and I just need the direction of the board on which way they would like to go.
So the bottom line of the synopsis here is the impact on the general fund.
Correct.
And in parentheses, obviously it's a negative impact.
Right, and why we have the negative impact on there, this budget does not have any increase for the state funding. The state really puts the school district in a hard place because they give you potential increases to basic ed funding and special education funding, but their budget does not have to pass till the exact same day we have to pass our budget. So the state has till June 30th to pass their budget. We have to have our budget passed on June 30th as well. Our budget also needs to set for 30 days, so we have to pass in this month, so we have a 30-day time for it to set before we can then approve the final budget that needs posted before June 30th. So it puts us in a hard place because we really hope we do get the increase from the state, and we really need the increase from the state, but we also can't budget that we are going to receive all that money, and then if we don't, then we're really far behind.
So these numbers reflect not counting on that.
Yes.
My vote's no.
Your vote could be no, but I still need to know which one. Yeah, but you have to vote yes for one of them, so your yes is you want 0 increase at all.
Right.
Okay.
My vote is no.
If, to raise taxes, so you would,
So you're voting on the first.
okay.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's, okay, sorry.
I asked several times, what, taking account of everything, what our fund balance would be at the end of the year. And about 3 weeks ago, in the one, I think it was in finance meeting, you said, oh, projected maybe we'll have a fund balance, 3.5 million.
3 million is where I said.
3 weeks ago, it was 3.5 million. Then the last meeting, you said 3 million. Yeah, that was the last meeting, which was last week.
Yeah, I don't remember saying 3.5. If I said it.
People who were in there remember that.
Okay.
And then tonight, Dr. Hartbauer, now that we're talking about tax increase, all of a sudden drops down a little over 2 million.
That was where our audited financial statements came out for last year. That was presented to the board last month. That's where he pulled that number from.
Well, I know,
What you asked me is where you thought we would see it at the end of this year. So that was two different things.
I know it's been said by different board members that they feel that we should raise taxes a little bit every year. Something a lot of people out there don't realize, if we raise taxes, we're not gonna lower taxes, we never lower taxes.
Right.
So if we raise taxes and it costs you an extra $50, then the following year, oh, let's raise a little again, now you've got another 50. So now that's actually, you were raised $100. Then the following year, another 50, that's $150. So I know, yeah, $150 might not sound a lot to everybody, but there's a lot of people that struggle with paying that $150. I would agree with Susie for a zero increase. If we have a fund balance,
Well,
we're talking about, see, a big mistake was made when you put teacher salaries under ESSER funds. It's gonna hit us, yes, it's gonna hit us.
100% it'll hit us.
We need to figure out what we're gonna do. We just can't say, oh,
But-
let's raise taxes, let's raise taxes. No. We're gonna be in a
But-
situation, if we have 9 teachers under ESSER funds and ESSER funds are gone, how do we pay those teachers?
Right, but also in 2019, you furloughed. As a board, you guys had to make the hard decision to furlough. They were brought back because of ESSER 1. I wasn't here when ESSER 1 was, but ESSER 1 brought those teachers back and was able to keep those teachers. And then that flowed into ESSER 2 and ESSER 3. So as a school, we are really trying to look forward to what are we gonna do after this ESSER money is gone? And it does. I wish we didn't have to pay any teachers with ESSER money. I wish that wasn't the case. But we already know that is the case because we had to furlough and we were able to bring everyone back. And it's a tough decision. It's a tough place we're all in. I live in Brownsville. I'm raising my own taxes if I say like we want to do this increase. So it's not that I'm going to say increase the taxes. It's not going to hurt me and then I'm going to run out of town and who cares if we hurt Brownsville that way? I'm doing it to myself. So I'm clearly open to what the board wants. I will put the budget into the state that way. If the state gives us a bunch of extra money and it covers everything that is in here, that's great, and I hope that's the case. But if it doesn't happen, I still have to let the board know this is the potential that could happen if we don't do it. So I just wanted to make sure that they have every decision to make a proper decision on what to do, and I'm totally fine. Yeah.
Like I said, I agree.
Bless you.
5 votes is no increase.
Okay.
Are we going down the line?
If you've got 5 votes to raise taxes, then that's good. I've already heard that certain board members did not show up on Thursday. Hey, if you're on board, show up, vote yes.
In the budget that's passed here, if the budget with no increase is passed in the May meeting, then you cannot add a tax increase to the June meeting. If the budget is passed with a partial or index increase at this May meeting, the increase of taxes is allowed to be removed before the final approved budget. So I just wanted to put that out in perspective too.
So Mike, in layman's terms, you cannot increase, you can only decrease.
Right.
I guess it's on.
Yeah, that's public.
Okay, because I asked the question, how do you justify raising people's taxes when they give administration a $15,000 raise? That's what I don't understand. I don't understand that.
No, it's
And I
not
told
public.
you, and I
It was
said
not
that's
Susie.
the budget. And I didn't get an answer because I don't understand that.
There has not been an official proposal, anything for administration, and those are things that we need to talk about in regards to the shuffling of the elementary stuff. Whatever the board decides on that is going to be ultimately their decision. But in regards to, you've had discussions, and we have not given an official proposal. The other thing that I want, and Mr. Llewellyn, you might want to help me on this, just so that the public understands. When we're talking about money and we're talking about taxes, and to all of us administratively, whatever the way the board goes, we're fine with. We're proposing, you guys choose, that's up to you. But taxes in Brownsville bring in about $5 million out of about a $30 million budget. Okay, so it's a small percentage. We're funded primarily about 85–90% by the state. When you raise taxes in Brownsville to the index, I believe it's about $330,000 additional. Is that correct? All right. So if you were to go to index, you would get about $330,000 more for your budget. So $330,000 is at least 3 teachers. Okay. When we looked at last year, that we did not raise taxes. If we don't raise taxes again, that could have been $600,000 that could go towards teachers. If you look at it that way, it could go towards anything. I'm just trying to put this in a perspective so people understand that. So those percentages we have to look at, and I know Mr. Bashir always says, well, the ESSER money is going to run away. It will, but we also have to be responsible for how are we preparing as we move forward as well. Okay. Is that pretty accurate, Mr. Llewellyn?
I guess.
You have a lot of people that's on fixed income.
Well, that's what I was just
I
thinking.
agree.
You have a lot of elderly people that live around here, on a fixed income.
Well, just,
Like I said, $50 might not be much to me, but it certainly means a lot to my mom.
Go ahead.
well, just from, I own multiple properties. I live here in the community paying taxes. I have parents that are, semi-retired, and, dealing with the elderly hand in hand because I run senior high rises. I just don't feel that it should be put on taxpayers in the district right now. If we got to wait the state out, we have to wait the state out. With the way the economy is right now, I don't see how we can even do that. It's just so stressful right now. I work 2 jobs, just myself. And I'm asked, like, my parents' age to go out and figure out how to make that little bit of increase, but I see how the numbers play down to even that minimal of money, because I'm doing fixed income for the elderly. So I'm seeing that we're paying medical bills, you know what I mean? So us putting that back on the community, our small size, that money can matter. Just right now, I just don't think it's just right that we do that.